Logos are so much more than a visual image. They comprise carefully selected and honed elements, colours, words and symbols, and these are combined into one effective design. One of the most important elements is colour. We'll recognise a Bang, a brand of chocolate or a car company by their colour. It differentiates competitors, but it's especially honed for that brand too. Symbols are another important element. They give us something to fall in love with for a brand, especially if they're realistic. A lion represents strength, for example, an eagle for clarity, or an apple for nourishment. We're drawn to and reassured by the brands that display them. And multinationals spend millions fighting to use a simple piece of fruit. And if I take a bite out of an apple, there's no doubt what it is. The third element is the name. And the name of a brand can be heard as well as read, and as such trigger different responses in us. Sounds like bitty and gooey sound different. The shape they make typographically is different. And every single letter in the word carries its own value inherent in its sound and its shape. We get a triangle with A, a circle with O, and so on. And students in an experiment were given sets of identical papers with an F or an A at the top. Those with the F did worse than those with the A. And modern typography gives designers an infinite opportunity to stretch and manipulate letters so they look strong and bold or confident or frivolous. They might promise us fun or clarity. A logo is not simply a combination of selected elements into a nice design. Each piece, usually backed by extensive and expensive research, will be thoroughly detailed to meet the brand objectives. And its relationship with every other element will be considered in minute detail. Every letter space, every hue and tone, and every final application will be considered before the logo is launched. Subconsciously, we all want to succeed, and the brands give us attainable means to ensure that we're satisfied. When we display the logo, we display that to the world. Brand managers use the past to secure a future, one that'll benefit them. The success of a brand is dependent on us responding well to their logo, but we might find ourselves responding favourably to the design and we might not know why. We can inherit a response from our ancestors, even from our mothers or grandmothers, that bypasses our conscious decision-taking process. And there's various ways in which this can happen. A response can be passed down in our DNA from our ancient ancestors. Animals, birds, or heavenly bodies might have been attributed with certain mythological powers, and we will still respond accordingly. But it need not be realistic. Abstract shapes were amongst the first symbols to be created consciously by man, and 5 basic shapes appear in all cultures: the circle, the cross, the triangle, the square, and the spiral. And each of these shapes has a similar meaning in these different cultures. Circle is wholeness, the cross represents relationships, the triangle stands for goals and dreams, and the square indicates stability, and the spiral means growth. This inheritance of memory can be as close as our grandparents. For example, we might be drawn to a certain washing detergent and choose it from the shelf because our grandmothers used it, even if we didn't see the pack. The lives of our grandparents, including the air they breathed and the food they ate and the things they saw, can directly affect us. And subsequently, what we do in our lifetime, the choices we make, can directly affect our children. This is known as the study of epigenetics. Closer to our own physical minds, our personal memories of our favourite brands can remind us of happy times, and we'll continue to buy the products so that we might perpetuate these feelings. We love the cereal pack that we enjoyed in our childhood, and we might continue to buy it and grace our breakfast table with it into our old age and onto the tables of our grandchildren, and so the cycle continues. Our scientists have shown us now that our world is not as solid as it appears, and when molecules, the building blocks of the world we see, are analysed, they're 99% plus empty space. People, buildings, cars, trees, and so on are simply fields of energy arranged into the familiar shapes we recognise. But apart from the stuff we can see, there are unseen fields of energy with their own equally effective contribution to our lives. Sometimes called morphic fields. We create them through our thoughts. By paying attention to them, we build them, and eventually a sort of memory becomes embedded in the overall quantum field. Ultimately becomes mainstream knowledge. Brands tap into this resource, and whether they're a product, a service, a person, or a business, they identify themselves with a logo, which they impregnate with brand values through their marketing. The values might be based in reality, soft, nourishing, or cheap, or they can appeal to our imagination for a better life. We'll gain more friends or we'll have more fun. Our thoughts about the brand values can be stimulated in an instant globally through a glimpse at the logo, and the more of us that buy into this, the more our thoughts are stimulated, the more we contribute to the field of energy around the brand until it creates a tipping point and we co-create the success of the brand. As with everything in our world, a logo has an energetic imprint, And in our quantum world, we don't have to see the logo to get the message because we have an energy body and that responds to our surroundings. This energy body extends throughout and beyond our own physical body, and it's known as the aura. And it has energy centers within it. Some of these are the heart, the sacral, and the brow centers. And each one of these is responsible for different things within us, for the state of our love and compassion, our feelings, and our intuition. When we place logos with our own values over these areas, a logo on a hat, a t-shirt with a design emblazoned across our chest, or underwear with logos on the elastic, we're affecting our own energy with the brand promise. Japanese scientist Masaru Emoto has conducted experiments with water that show how its molecular structure can be affected by words, thoughts, and emotions. Water samples from the same source create different crystalline structures when they're frozen, depending on the stimulus. For example, one vial of water might have the word love drawn on it, the other one hate. These will have a different effect on the water. When they're analysed after they're frozen, the one with the word love on it creates a beautiful crystalline structure. The one with the word hate on it is a sort of an amorphous mass. How will we be affected if we drink this water? We are, after all, mainly water. Or how will we be affected if we drink a soft drink labelled with a logo? Or how will we be affected by a logo on our body? Or a tattoo, when our blood and plasma pick up the energy of these and deliver it to each cell in our body, and our DNA in those cells be passed on to our children. A new logo design is presented with an initial challenge to secure our attention, offer us something we want and will willingly remember. Every time we learn something new, we have to create a new neural pathway. Our brain cells learn to fire in a sequence that links a thought, our initial thought, with a final action. So when we learn to walk, for example, we have the thought, create the intention, and engage the parts of our mind that make our limbs move, along with our sense of balance, direction, and so on. Eventually, our brain becomes trained with an embedded sequence that requires no conscious thought on our behalf. We think, I want to go there, and our mind recreates the desired response by firing up the learned neural pathways. So in order to live the life that we want, we create and build our own specific pathways that suit our ambitions and our needs, and we feel comfortable in them. Through our experiences, we discover what gets us what we want, and we can continue to recreate it in our lives using the familiar pathways that we've already established. The more we use them, the stronger they get. This is a gift for brands, because if brands can stimulate our neural pathways in a way that suits them, then they'll get us doing what they want. So if the brand merchants can gain our attention, they'll stimulate neural pathways to secure the success for their brand. So when we think, I want something, it might be a drink, a car, or a computer, they want us to think of their products, but there's thousands of competitive products vying for our attention. How do they jostle their way into our consciousness and become our first choice? How do they make sure that our brain cells are firing in a sequence that benefits them? Eventually, a simple glance at the logo will trigger the same host of responses. Our brain cells will fire up and strengthen neural pathways that have been established through marketing and advertising, and we will continue to desire the brand. The logo is so easily delivered, cheaply and effectively, over again and over again via global communications. Emotions such as the best, successful, healthy, feeling good become triggered again, and we buy the product without even consciously thinking about it. And those who capture or entrance our thoughts, including our beliefs, perceptions, and actions, affect the way we think. Those who control our thoughts control the ways of the world. And branding is one of the most powerful motivators for choice. We recognize their brands through their name and through their logo.